And then I think we're actually going into questions for all of the panelists. This question is for Dr. Michelle. How do you feel about Facebook Meta's censorship of ads? And how do you think we can get Meta to review its algorithm or AI bias?
Wow, this is way above my pay grade. I actually have no idea how we can get Facebook to review anything in terms of its algorithm or AI bias. I guess, the way that we're tackling this is ensuring sort of diversity of data and safe sharing of data and safe connection of data rather than ownership. So for us, it's all about leveraging kind of global collaboration and being able to bring together those diverse data sets in a safe and secure way without breaching those data privacy and without actually breaching patient privacy and confidentiality. That's super important, and ensuring individual consenting. But I'll need to leave that specific request around Facebook and how to make that happen for them to someone else.
Thank you. And I see, Terry, you want to contribute, and I also want to ask Dr. Ladoff if you have anything else to contribute there. Terry?
Yeah, this is like an issue that we're really passionate about at FemTech Lab and FemTech Live. And we recently did a big campaign around this. We have a video, I'll drop it in the chat. And we also held an event where we did a discussion with some people from Facebook, but it's such a prevalent issue in the femtech space. We've had so many comments from femtech founders saying that, it's having a huge issue, it's causing a huge issue to their business and their revenue. And I think it just needs more attention being drawn to it and a bigger voice. And we need to get Meta and Facebook and all of the other social media companies around a table, create a working group where femtech founders can talk about this and show them what is for educational purposes and what is for sexual purposes, because not every part of a woman's body is explicit. Actually, no part of a woman's body is explicit.
Thank you. And Dr. Ladoff, did you have anything else to also add to that?
Oh, no, I think, Terry, you said it well. I agree.
Wonderful, thank you. I do have a couple of questions for the panelists. Michelle Egger, this is a question that had come just after your presentation. How do you deploy your screener? Is it via an email survey?
Yeah, so we use Calendly to set up invites with all of our investor calls, and made a specific invite link that was only for first-time investor calls. And we included those 3 questions in them, and we tried to make it playful. So we didn't, we'd put an answer in heck yes, we've got female representation, or we're working on it, or no, we do not, right? To give people the ability to not have to be yeah, no, we don't fit your criteria 100%. And we always took every intro call still. So we'd at least have the conversation and tell them face-to-face, why it might not be a fit. But having that screener as a part of the invite before we'd even met them allowed us to do our research more quickly, and also give them a heads up of what was to come.
Wonderful, thank you. I do have another question for you. In 2021, we often express the barrier to investment within femtech. How do you see prioritizing values as a particularly strategic approach to investment when it comes to femtech in 2022?
Yeah, I think that there is more capital than I think women are told right now that they should be lucky to get capital. As female founders, we get such a low proportion of it. And so we feel like we have to kind of beg for what we can get. And I think being intentional, in some ways, the power and confidence comes through in the fact that you're not quite as needy or groveling. And I think taking that power back and really being clear about, I know that there's capital out there. I'm going to take the time to find the right capital, even if it's a month or 2 longer on my raise, really does enable you to be able to move that forward. And then I just highlight in general, capital right now is everyone is starting to have these portfolio requirements, whether they're doing a good job or not. Everyone wants to have a few smiling female faces on their website. And I don't think it's inappropriate to use that to your advantage, that you're representing women and frequently represent as a woman. So being able to utilize that as one more tool to get you in the door to the right types of funders isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to celebrate in this moment.
Thank you for that perspective. Dr. Ladoff, in 2020 and 2021, we saw a great shift to the acceptance of digital health, where there was once a barrier. What breakthroughs should we expect to see in 2022, and how will this better support maternal and newborn healthcare?
I have to think about that for a moment. I think one, at least in Germany, let me preface this, One of the positive outcomes of the pandemic has been that it has normalized telehealth and digital health, both by providers who are offering it and by users. And so it's been encouraging to see that uptake improve. Going forward, I think as long as the pandemic continues and hopefully beyond, I'd like to see that go beyond urban centers and be hopefully picked up more by people in geographically remote or more inaccessible places. I've been thinking lately, just based on experiences of actually of a relative who is going through a complicated pregnancy right now and needs access to some very important services that she is only able to get because she lives in a big city. Had she been in a remote or rural place, things would be much more complicated for her. So I'd like to see more of that happen. But again, I think these things don't always happen. Let me specify. I don't think that improving digital health is just something that can happen with companies alone, for instance, or as the result of a pandemic. It requires infrastructure. Do people in those places have high-speed internet access? If we're talking about girls and women, do they even have mobile phones? There's many places around the world where cell phone ownership is still quite gendered, especially smartphone access. So there's a lot of bigger issues culturally and contextually that need to shift before this can really be something that can be embraced by people globally. But we are hopefully moving in the right direction.
Thank you for your perspective. A few other questions to the general panel. Are there any startup or products on female emotional and mood POC assessment and diagnosis based on AI?
Well, I will just encourage here to go to our interactive platform and play with the search term, and you will see corresponding companies pop up. Of course, I do believe that mental health is very important, and we're always historically have been believers in AI. So we'll post some links in the chat here, and you can go and play within this category.
Thank you. We have a few more questions and then we'll wrap it up. Who are the standout business angels and VCs who are actively involved in FemTech startups? And where do we go to court the correct investors who are aligned with us? And Kate, I'm not sure if that's you or
sure.
Perhaps.
Well, I can give my 2 cents on that. As I mentioned earlier, we like to kind of like chart the course first and do the analytics and then actually actively enter the space. So we have a report on influencers in FemTech, including the investors. So it is an open access on our website, and you can go and see at least some of the key figures based on the opinion of our analytics team as to where you can go. And there are short bios there as well, so you can understand why these people are actually selected. So, and also in the past, we've had several webinars when investors from all over the world came and they shared their perspective on FemTech, whether or not it was their sole focus or not. So, and these investors are reflected in this report.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I'll put one more question out to all of the panelists before we close. Looking forward, what intention would you like to set for FemTech in 2022? Dr. Perugini, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think it's about awareness and recognition and kind of leveling the playing field. And from my perspective, I think technology and AI is beautifully placed to be able to do that at scale. And so it's more about inclusivity, equity, and building affordable and accessible products that are specifically and intentionally focused for women.
Thank you. Dr. Ladoff, would you like to go next?
For let's see, speaking on behalf of, well, myself and Mila Health, I think our intention would be all around access. So, okay, I mentioned some of those bigger challenges, but there's also other accesses in terms of affordability, in terms of access to science. There's still so many issues with scientific literature being behind a paywall, or researchers having to publish, but in Nature, I believe $11,000 to get their article out there to the community. And these types of things have a knock-on effect on our ability to really innovate as a community and, at the health field and beyond. So I'd like to see, my intention would be access at all levels, not just in terms of digital health.
Thank you. Carrie, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I think think bigger than your product. I think, as I've shown, it has such a revolutionary power. So every content piece that you're putting up, your branding, all of that stuff, think of it as a way that you're changing women and people's mindset about the solution category that you're talking about, and really push for that, because that's what's going to make the great change that we need for more investment in FemTech.
Thank you. And Michelle, last but not least.
Encouraging FemTech founders to be bold. So I think we often feel a little uncomfortable and these spaces are unwelcome, and we just have to be able to push in and acknowledge that we deserve to be there as much as anyone else.
Thank you. This has been a wonderful panel. I really appreciate all of you who have joined us, and a big thank you to our speakers, Michelle Egger, Dr. Michelle Perugini, Susan Trent, Dr. Samantha Ladoff, and Kate Batts and Terry Harris. It was great to have a deeper understanding of the broader FemTech landscape and what to aim for as we embark on the new year. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you very much, Lena, and the speakers and the audience. It's been a great pleasure and honor to host you in our first webinar of 2022, and we hope to continue later in the year. For those who would like to rewatch the webinar or who did not have an opportunity, if you registered, you will receive a video link in the next few days, and you will be able to view the webinar. And as always, you're welcome to reach out to us with any questions or comments, as well as download our open access reports on femtech.health. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.